All right, I'm going to call the special meeting to order at 6:01, and I'm going to ask Feisty Lee Wanry to lead us in the pledge of allegiance. Of the United States of America,
Of America,
which
to the
stands
republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty for all.
Okay, item 3.
Motion that the Board of Members adopt the following resolution for an open space and watershed land acquisition 2022 grant application. Second.
Okay, just by way of discussion, this is a matter that we've discussed several times in the past. We have applied several times in the past for, to the Open Space State Fund to obtain funding to purchase 45 acres in the middle of the Wilmot property. We've gone over this before. I don't have it up on the screen, but anyone who's not familiar with it, if you come over here, I'll explain it to you. So everyone knows Guntown Park. We own Guntown Park. We've added to it. We've expanded to it. And that is, I'm going to say on the lower portion of the hill on Guntown Road. On the top of the hill on Andrew Mountain Road, we foreclosed and are the owners of a large piece of land that's a flat, beautiful meadow. And in between, there is a big hunk of land that is not buildable, but connects these two. So what we want to do is we want to connect Guntown Park to the land on the top of the hill and have a much larger open space area. First of all, because we connect two land parcels, but secondly, because it enables us to get the Mission 22 trail off of the pipeline and private property and get it onto borough land so that going forward in perpetuity, 100% of the trail will be on borough state land. So it just makes it a much better parcel of land and a much better trail network. So we've gone through the appraisal process. The land has been appraised at $180,000. We're applying for a grant which would be 75%. We have to match the rest if we're successful in the grant, which means that we would be, for $45,000, we would be acquiring a large slab of land that would give us a sensational open space area that's quite and beautiful. We all know Guntown Park is serene, tranquil, beautiful. You know, the hill is rugged, real sanctuary for the animals. And the top is a beautiful meadow, so it's a great piece of property. In the past, we've applied and we never been successful. So we've given the assignment to our new grant writer, and she's written up a better grant proposal, and that's pretty much it.
And where would the funding come from on our end?
Well, if you read the motion,
I read the motion.
so it comes, so essentially it comes from our surplus that is going to be transferred into our capital reserve fund. So in other words, it's not coming directly out of the budget. Our surplus goes to the capital reserve fund, at least initially. So there's plenty of money and it comes from them. It was a good question though, because The real question is, how did it get in the capital?
Right, that's what I was wondering, how to
Yeah,
get there. Mayor, what's the easement for? Yeah, but
Okay, so it's not, it's the trail, so right now, the Mission 22 trail goes into Guntown, up the pipeline, through the pastures of the Wilmot property, and up to Andrew Mountain Road. So trail will be in Guntown Park, and instead of going up the pipeline, up borough land, up the hill to the same spot. So that is the new, it's gonna be the new section of the Mission 22 trail that will get the entire trail on town and state land. Andreas, you should take a picture of this map here. It speaks 1,000 words or more.
will it still be 22 kilometers?
Ah, what a question. I'm gonna say this will shorten the trail a little, so we'll have to expand it somewhere else to make it 22.
Oh, see, if you shortened it, I'd walk it, but we're gonna make it the same.
You have to shorten it by 22 kilometers.
You can say anything. No. I'd settle for 21. I'd settle for 21. Wait, how long is a kilometer?
So with the math, no, that gets to 45 acres, $1,000 an acre.
Yeah, by much.
Yeah.
That's great.
Basically, yeah.
It's a good price.
Questions? Discussion? All right, we're gonna do a roll call vote. George Mudry. George is absent, but he's sent a message that he wants me and everyone to know that he's in favor of this and everything on the agenda. Jan,
Yes,
by the way, you look good tonight, so we hope you're feeling better. You look good.
I took a 3-hour nap before the meeting. That's why.
Okay. Rocky,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Mayor, yes.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor, yes. Grant,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Dorothy.
Yes.
Okay, then we have two absent, Burgess, Mudry, and Megan is absent. So it's unanimous.
Mayor, just as you know, this year's height was approximately 13.7 miles.
Right.
22 kilometers, approximately 13.2 miles. So we're still there. We were over the 22.
Yeah, but I mean, we should check it, you know, we want to make sure.
Well, after the meeting, we'll walk it.
I have a drone.
Huh?
I have a drone. We could use that.
Okay, next item. We're gonna have a presentation, from Kleinfelder Northeast on our downtown stormwater and sanitary sewer upgrades, as well as our streetscape designs for Church and Maple Street. Just by way of background, we all recall that we previously entered into an agreement with Kleinfelder to do a preliminary design on what it would take to eliminate some major problems we have with our sanitary sewer line, and more so in our stormwater line in the greater downtown area. For example, we had a sinkhole in front of the firehouse that's reoccurring to some extent. We have major problems on Church Street when we get a lot of rain in a short period of time. And we have other existing problems, plus we have new development that we have to provide for. So previously, Kleinfelder, did their work. They've been studying it. I'm sure most people have seen them out on the streets, looking in the manholes and doing a lot of investigative work. And they've come up with the solution as to the best manner in which to solve that manner. And they're gonna go over that with us. We're gonna talk about the cost. And then we're gonna have leftover money that we're going to be allotting to really revitalizing and making downtown much nicer on Church Street and Maple Street. There's gonna be some issues because right now we would be over budget, and so we're gonna be talking about options and the way to approach those issues. And just again, by way of background, we'll be using ARPA funds. We have 9.2 million in ARPA funds. And this project will go over that to some extent, depending on some of the selections we make. So Neil from Kleinfelder is going to start off and tell us about the sanitary sewer, the stormwater. And remember, Naugatuck is one of the first towns to have sewers and stormwater, and it goes way back. And we've got a lot of old pipes and clay pipes and things like that that are out there. And we also have parcel B, and a lot of water going through that, before the flood, and then they built that structure there to handle flood water. So there's a lot going on. So we decided to pick the foremost expert on stormwater in North America, and now he's going to present to us. So take it away, Neil.
You gave my whole presentation. Thank you, Mayor and Burgess. Appreciate your time tonight. Again, my name is Neil Polakowskis. I'm with Kleinfelder. Along with me is Mike Segan, Richter Segan. He's gonna dive into the streetscape elements, and I'm here to really kind of walk through the project overall and some of the pipe work that we did. So again, we started back in March. Really came on board, and really the goals of the project, as the mayor indicated, were address some known existing issues in the downtown system, pipes, sanitary stormwater issues, and as well as ensure that any future development down here, we've got adequate capacity. So we're looking at condition and capacity. Those are really the two critical things on these two systems. So we did a bunch of investigative work, CCTV, 20,000 feet of pipe, both sewer. We modeled both the sewer system and the drainage system. Through those investigations and field investigations and desktop, we came up with recommendations. So, the next slide. So again, just really quick agenda here, kind of three main categories. I'm going to talk about the sewer and stormwater. Mike's going to talk about the streetscape, and then we're going to circle back at the end and go through the summary of costs and our recommendations moving forward. So really, I just wanted to show this slide and really this area. This is the area that we looked at, what we call the quote unquote downtown area. We came up with a number of findings, on both systems really. Again, a lot of old pipes, as the mayor indicated, a lot of old infrastructure. Really, one of the main things that really we heard from day one, but honestly, I heard during the proposals, the challenges that Church Street had with drainage. So we have some significant recommendations for drainage on Church Street. And then as well, there's a lot of drainage coming through parcel B and the old pump station. And what was going on there, really, how much flow is going in there? How do we accommodate the future development and handle those flows? So really, that was a real big focus of ours. So ultimately, we're trying to work within the budgets we had and prioritize the recommendations on the next slide. We came up with a set of planned improvements for the area to really accomplish that, take care of the major critical capacity issues on Church Street, the conditional issues in the sewer system, and also remove the flows from parcel B. So this really kind of summarizes from a pipe standpoint what we're doing. So you can see Church Street, really we're gonna line the entire sewer. We're also essentially replacing the existing stormwater pipe, from its current existence all the way to Long Meadow Pond Brook. And we're also extending that because there's some flooding issues due to where that flooding starts and how the drainage comes in from the town green there. So we're extending that system. There's a significant drain pipe that runs through the town green right down Maple Street here. Outlets right under the bridge. So we took a close look at that. There were a few conditional issues. So we've got a major repair that's happening right in the area of the town green. And then there was a little bit of a bottleneck in the system as well. So we're essentially restoring the capacity, the full capacity of that pipe. I think discharges to the river here right underneath the bridge. So those are the main things. And then again, on Old Firehouse Road, we're extending the drainage so that we're picking up all the local drainage there that currently goes through the pump house on parcel B. So by removing that drainage, we're isolating that pump house. So essentially you can allow the developers to deal with it as they may, essentially taking the borough's obligation off of that pump house. So again, this is just a summary of what we're planning for the pipe work. I'm going to turn it over to Mike, who's going to go through the streetscape recommendations.
Good evening, Mike Seaton with Burgess, and as Neil mentioned, we are landscape architects on the project team. Next slide. There we go. The first step in the preparation of the streetscape for Maple and Church Street is the preparation of this overall downtown master plan. And as the mayor mentioned, there's a lot of components to this outside the street itself that we looked at that will influence the design of the streetscape, things that we have to connect to in this very kind of dynamic area. Some of the existing buildings in the area of the town hall, there's a lot of historical components to town green, monuments, historic buildings, partially in the historic district, part of the project area. We looked at the parking, the fees from behind the buildings into the streets on both sides. We also looked at the role and the location for the future development areas, as well as the future rail station, and those connections to the streetscape as well. So all these came into play. We then looked at opportunities for development of the streetscape, and some of those opportunities are listed on the right-hand side of the slide, starting with the gateway treatment, creating a strong gateway that integrates the pocket parks that are there, the bridge and the railroad overpass, responding to the axial plan that runs. This is a historic axis, a real classical axis that runs all the way up through the intersection here in Maple Church, through the town green, through Salem Square, up to Lewis Park, with wonderful overlooks as you look back in the center area. We also looked very carefully at the Church and Maple Street intersection. This is probably the heart of the downtown, and really sense of when you arrive, you really feel that you're above that axis on Maple Street. We also looked at just the general streetscape treatments. Worked with wheels folks, traffic engineers to look at the streets and really create a complete streets approach, put some of the roads on diets and made the sidewalk areas more pedestrian friendly. And we also looked at a uniform treatment for the streetscapes. Don't talk about those. And then we looked at the connections off the Church Street to these various different areas and et cetera. So we could really tie everything together. And then all this is done really in the context of all the historical components of this area. It really has a rich history. So this is the streetscape plan. It was prepared as a result of all this that evolved and the refinement of all these thoughts. While this is a very large scale, hard to see details, I'm going to show you some details that are part of this, but it really starts down here and the entrance or gateway of the bridge, extends up Maple Street. Here's the intersection, extending into the town green, and then extending down both sides, the full length of Church Street down to Rubber Ave. We looked at a uniform streetscape treatment here with pavement, street trees, lighting, et cetera. We looked at the development of some of the adjacent public spaces. We also looked at creating outdoor dining venues, and really, that was an important part of the process as well. Bring light and interest and enhance the streetscape. So what I'm going to do, again, this is very small scale. I'm going to take you through some of the details that make up this plan. I think you'll have a better understanding of the components. There's so many different layers and components that make up the streetscape. We start with the draft streetscape standards for this area, including ornamental light fixture standard, which is found throughout the downtown area, and benches, receptacles, bike racks, fencing. Some of the streetscape furniture that's color-wise and style-wise all works together and be repeated throughout the streetscape. And there's some exceptions to that. For instance, there's areas where specialty lighting is really important and really bring alive a place. One example is your existing light that's on the bridge. Really appropriate, very different. There's no reason to have a standard light there, for instance. And then the addition of catenary lighting, the string lighting throughout your dining venues and other public spaces really, again, enhances those spaces and brings them alive and creates light after, when it gets dark, etc. Next. And we looked at the incorporated the draft proposed for the streetscape, which I think will be discussed at a later time. These two very high quality pavers, traditional colors, traditional brick, very appropriate for the streetscape we're talking about. We've used them in a number of other instances. They're very quality pavers and very appropriate for this project. Next, please. This is a cross section across Church Street. It kind of shows in a very simple way the application of the complete streets. Here, the road was put on a diet. This was narrowed down the pavement, which really helped us increase the pedestrian experience on the side. Only a few feet on each side, but given that that sidewalk is fairly narrow, it really makes a huge difference in terms of developing the streetscape elements on both sides of the road. Still maintain that central one-way aisle or road lane, and then the two parallel parking on either side. You can see the street light, street tree will be selected depending on what's the best species that fits in that particular spot. And there's going to be a number of different conditions that we have. Some are very narrow and tight. Some there's much more room to work with. So there'll be different tree species selected. This is a plan view of that same area along the street. You can see the main lanes here, the parallel parking on either side of the road, and then the treatment, the application of the brick pavers and a herringbone pattern on the street, double banding around. So this is a pattern that we're looking to take throughout the streetscape. We're also looking, especially on Church Street, with a flexi-pave tree pit. What that is, it's some kind of a down gravel material that allows water to go through to get to the tree roots, but it's flush to the surface. So when you have really tight space, it allows people to walk in those areas, so and it gives you more useful area. And then we're looking to insert into the streetscape a facsimile or a likeness of the historic pavers on Hillside Ave. This is not the exact color of that paver. We just had to darken it so it would read graphically. What that does is it creates a rhythm or pattern along the street that makes this pavement unique to Naugatuck. This style and this pattern will not be used anywhere else. It kind of reflects a little bit of the history. Next, please. This is our look at establishing some outside dining venue. We located specific kind of strategic locations along the streets And these are located typically where restaurants are clustered. And they would include the string lighting, again, to extend the use and that'll be used throughout the streetscape to really create and enhance that visual experience and extend the use of the area. This is in plan view, one of those dining areas here. We would utilize 2 parking spaces and extend out. There would be a planter here, to provide separation from the gravel roadway here, provides additional plantings and color along the road. Canopy trees provide shade in this area as well as really some again lower canopy. So this is an area that really greatly increases the outdoor space, protects it, provides amenity, and then still continues that travel lane through on the sidewalk.
Can I ask a question while you're on that? Sure. That bump out,
Yes,
we're gonna lose parking spaces because of that.
there's 2 parking spaces that are lost in each one of these.
I think, aren't we looking for more parking and not less parking?
We're gonna buy a parking lot.
Rock, I think that's for the outdoor dining that those people are looking to get. Yeah. We were gonna take 2 spots from that area anyways.
Well, let me just say, Rocky, that parking is definitely an issue, but it's much more involved than just the streetscape. We have parts of B, we have people who are gonna take the train. We have the people in the downtown parking lot. We have the new people who are gonna live downtown, and we have all the existing businesses. So yes, parking is a huge issue, but 2 spots are kind of meaningless in the total equation. We're looking at it on a much more magnified approach to come up with larger swaths of land for additional parking, so everything will be adequate. But that goes beyond the scope of what Kleinfelder was working on.
We had previously discussed some type of 3-season structure for the businesses that was gonna be out in the road and parking spaces. Are those still gonna be there? They're gonna take more parking?
Well, that could be, that's for us to decide.
This looks like it's in the location where we were gonna.
Well, this is, I think a better way to say it is, there are some additional spots that, we may have to talk about. For example, I'll say La Casita, right? So, well, that's something we'll have to tweak.
I mean, if we're looking at this is almost like we're paying for their outdoor dining space in this project. If I'm looking at this in that way.
We'll just keep going and then we'll talk about it.
One really quick model on parking. This comes up every down. Typically, there's more than enough parking behind the buildings to set them. And once people get into that routine, not only that those spaces are there, the problem goes away because the additional amenities and costs down on the street. So, this is a section across Maple Street now, very different kind of dimensions. And we've taken the whole streetscape approach to Maple Street as well. This is where the new medical offices are across there. This is the existing parking lot, and that the mayor talked about parcel being in future development. So as we move forward, we're thinking about the connections and coordination between the streetscape project and what is happening in the parcel B. So that dialogue will continue. Here, this road went on a little bit of a guide as well, not on the north side, but on the south side, add a little more dimension to that sidewalk, giving us a little better, stronger pedestrian kind of experience on that side. This is in plan view, looking at the same spot, medical office here. Future development parcel here, you can see the streetscape elements. A little bit different with the tree pits here, we have a little more room. So those are going to be raised planters, so they'll be actually green at the base, different look, a little more amenity. Again, because we have the room here, and we're very mindful of that coordination connection parcel B. These are just representative, we haven't really done any close coordination. If we need to. Great spot here for an outdoor dining venue. It's at the intersection of Maple and Water Street. There's a lot happening here. You know, we have Mardelli's, the sports bar and grill from the coffee shop. This is a very visible, the prime spot as you come over the bridge, under the railroad pass. This is the first thing you really see. This intersection will be redone, improved. This is connected to the rail station, as well as the future development parcel B. It's sort of the one way to get there, and then again, more firehouses another way. So this is a very kind of strategic area to come in. So all the streetscape improvements will appear and just around it. And again, providing that outdoor dining venue that can be shared by a number of restaurants. And then finally, these are some concepts for the intersection of Maple and Church Street. This is that really critical intersection, basically the town green and this intersection. And streetscape elements and some of the improvements here within be extended into the town green itself, highlighting the Civil War monument, providing amenity, the possibility of stone seat walls on either side, possible Christmas tree on one side, and some sort of feature on the other. But there's great potential here to create a really sense of arrival and then we get up to this intersection. So that's a very quick overview of the streetscape project and some of the various components and layers that go into it. That concludes my overview.
Got a question. On the areas that you're gonna have the pavers. Has there been a thought of possibly doing stamped concrete? And how would that affect the price? Would it be cheaper? You can still create the same look. I'm assuming with stamped concrete to do the vision you're looking to do. Number one, and number two, for downtown. I'm not against trees. My problem with trees.
Got that covered.
Okay.
But he didn't say it, let me say it, I make sure I'm right. But, because I mentioned this when I saw your slides, the trees look like big trees in your slides. It's my understanding that the trees that block the businesses now are gonna go. And we're gonna have smaller, more appropriate trees, and the bigger trees are gonna be like in the area by the municipal parking lot. And that when you show those big trees, they're not gonna be blocking the businesses, they're gonna be newer, different species, is that correct?
Yeah, first of all, especially in the narrow areas, we want narrow upright trees that are narrow, there's no block. And also the branches, they're very high branched. So it's kind of the opposite. If you get smaller trees, they actually block that first floor level, which you don't want. So you want almost higher but narrow trees. And trees that you can almost walk right up to the side to because they're so upright and narrow. And then as they grow, first of all, you get them high branched. And as they grow, you continue to take off those lower branches. So you see underneath. The West Hartford Center is a great example of mature trees. They brought the canopy up. You looked at the store fronts and sides. And
That was my main concern, is because number one, we've never, I shouldn't say never, we don't take care of the trees that we have downtown. They all suck. Point blank.
Tell us how you really feel.
I get crazy over that because they're out of control, they're wild, and they block the facades where you can't even see the sign on the front of the facade. That's my concern.
Currently, our trees are so close to structures.
Yeah.
And they're wide, so with this proposal, it seems like with the widening of the sidewalk, you're gonna be pulling the trees further away from the buildings. And going in the narrower structure, there'd be less likely to block.
Exactly. That's, you just took the words right out of my mouth. And in addition, when you do those bump outs, you're moving those those trees can be even a little bit larger because they're even farther away from the buildings out into the street, so.
One other question I have is that since we're making the sidewalks wider and we're condensing that road, where you have the parking on each side and you have basically one lane down the middle. How do I'm gonna use Mike's Pizza for an example, okay? When he has a tractor trailer pull up, and he's gotta take cheese or soda or whatever off the truck. Right now, with the wider lanes there, you can get by it. But if we extend those sidewalks, there's no way in hell that you're gonna be able to get by there. Now, will there be certain times of the day where they can have to do this? I don't know.
So, one of the current problems now as well is even turning in and out of some of those driveways when those trucks are there.
Yeah.
And trying to get out, and the sight distance you can't see. What we'd like to do, it's not quite incorporated yet, but as we progress the design. We're gonna have someone come down and look at that issue closely. We've got, believe it or not, we've got specialists in that area who deal with loading and unloading. They're gonna come look at the frequency, the size of the truck, the type of truck. And we'll make some recommendations, that could be designated loading areas in certain times. Right, we could look at the flow of trucks, try to have trucks go a different path and maybe drop somewhere else. I'm just speculating here, but those types of options, and then incorporate those into the design, so it works better.
Yeah.
And I fully expect it to be an improvement from where it is now.
And the paver question, as Bob asked, that's important about can we go and stamped concrete?
So
The pavers are beautiful, but 15 years from now, they're not gonna be.
We looked at all pavers. 100% pavers versus 100% concrete, and then variations in between as increased percentages, mixing pavers, and ultimately decided as a group that the incremental cost was not significant enough to move away from the desired look of the pavers.
The pavers that we're using now are worlds better than even 10, 15 years ago. They're really hard fired. They're actually better than concrete pavers in terms of the durability. So almost exclusively on our projects, we're using the pavers.
How about seasonal shifting underneath? That's a problem. You go to certain areas, even Boston, have been recently developed. They threw the pavers down. It didn't take but a couple winters before you see them heaving. And then you have a safety concern. And on top of it, then you have weeds start popping up between them and so forth. So
Other good question, do you put them on concrete? They're permanent, there's solid, and you go back 10 years later.
the concrete handles the seasonal change while the pavers just rest on top of that or adjust.
It's all about the foundation, man.
And where you keep the water flowing, because the water that's the water.
But I want to say one thing on Len's presentation. When everything is said and done, and we talk about the gateway and the bridge, we will, in this project, once and for all, finalize the issue on the bridge. And as a group, we will make a decision what the solution will be, and we will get some input as to some ways to make it look better. If the consensus is to abandon the bridge. So we will, it's not technically part of this project financially, because we already have the money set aside for that. But part of the overall charge here is to once and for all finish that issue and have the gateway to Naugatuck, the green, Church Street, have everything together. Now, also, just for tonight's agenda, we were going to discuss townwide, not townwide, but streetscape designs for significant streets other than these streets. We're going to table that tonight until our October meeting, because Jim needs a little more work to do. But we will, in addition to this, be imposing some requirements such as granite, curbing, and things like that on, I'm going to call them major streets, and that's going to require a whole separate discussion. that we're not gonna do tonight.
On the outdoor areas where the dining is much larger, is there a roof or anything over that, or is it all wide open?
Right now, the plan has it right.
Okay.
So we are still gonna have a bit of an issue like we have with the bump outs as far as plowing the streets. Because we're not gonna be able to have a straight shot for plowing. I guess my only other thought is, after we're all dead and gone, 100 years from now, they're not gonna be able to decide to make it two-way again if they want to.
This will permanently be one lane or all pedestrian. One way.
I mean, there's, I don't want to.
That's true, they'll be floating over it.
Jets.
Yeah, that's.
Don't get me wrong, I love the one-way.
So gentlemen, I love the vision of what you're showing us. We've had so many question marks about what downtown's gonna be after A, B are developed, of course, and the idea we have to make it appealing to mainly the newcomers that do come in, plus make it respectful to what's already there from businesses that currently exist. So I appreciate what you've done and see there in these renderings. Look forward to going further.
All right, Neil, give us bad news now.
I get to talk about pipes and money, Mike gets to talk about all the beautiful advancements here. So essentially, a real high overview of our project budget. Really $10 million is the number that we're aiming for to stay within. So we've got essentially planning and design. We've already spent over $500,000 on all of our initial investigative work, the first phase that we just completed. So the remainder of the design will bring us up to about $1.5 million. Right now, we're clearing a construction number of about $8.1 million. That includes contingencies, and again, we're very early on in the process. But that's really the number we're shooting for from the construction side. So what we decided to do for the streetscape and where we drew the line for which are the most critical pipes was to really meet that $8.1 million number. And then construction, admin, and inspection. I think you're benefiting from a lot of projects happening between this, Rubber Ave, and some other work downtown. So there's some efficiencies there built in as well. So 10 million, and then all the streetscape we talked about, is essentially going to be put on the table. If we can afford everything when it goes out to bid, we'll do everything. If not, we kind of have an order of what's the priority and what we're going to pull back.
Was the plan you showed tonight everything?
That the plan we showed tonight is that would include some of the optional.
What he showed us tonight would actually be 11.6.
Yeah. So there are some, again, we kind of prioritize what we'd like to do first. Maple Street is included, and all Church Streets included in the base.
Just one overview comment. So there's a lot of things happening from a financial standpoint right now. We are applying for, well, let's just start with, we have 9.2 million in ARPA money. We're applying for additional money for downtown, and we are going to be establishing a TIF district, which originally was set up for many things, including paying for whatever we can't get from ARPA funding or state money. So we will have enough money to do everything. Worst case, we would tie into the TIF. Best case, we would get the additional funding from the state or grants or other things. So right now, we don't really know. We know we're not too far off our dream plan. We want to talk about it and make good decisions and come up with the best plan we can.
Can I ask a question real quick? What about the storm and sewage runoff coming from Hillside and Millville and everything else? Is that a separate project or is that taken care of already or?
Yeah. So we got Hillside Avenue reclassified as an arterial road. So we are in the process of getting a separate grant, a LOTSIP grant from the state of Connecticut to do the stormwater issues, the catch basins, etc. for Hillside Ave. And we believe that the state will be paying for that from a separate fund of money. And what we will be left with on Hillside Ave is that the state will not pay for the bricks from LOTSIP. And if we're gonna keep Hillside Avenue all brick, that would be ultimately on the borough. But to your question, Jan, the stormwater aspect of it will be paid for by a separate LOTSIP grant.
So
Yeah,
that's a separate project really is what I'm
Right.
saying.
I'd say
It's
the
not
only thing
included in
that,
the.
go ahead, I was gonna say, the only thing that helps that is there are stormwater improvements we're doing here in the green, all that flow comes down, comes through the green, comes through Maple Street, so those improvements that we're doing on Maple Street and the green are gonna essentially open up that pipe and allow more flow through there, which will help, but all the capture of that flow is part of the Hillside project.
And Jim, I wasn't around at the time, but when St. Francis got flooded, what was that? Was that stormwater or sewage or what? The
So
whole basement?
that's problem is, that issue is resolved by Neil's project and the piping that he's doing.
Okay, that's really what I wanted to know. Okay, thank you.
We have to get any approvals from the church in order to do what we need to do on the green, like extending towards the Civil War monument or digging up, or I'm assuming we wouldn't have any problem anyway, but
Well, let's just say we will definitely work with them. We're gonna make it more beautiful, so I'm sure they'll.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, first of all, any more questions? All right, so,
Yeah, I was good, just to close, really, where we're at today, final design would be in October, we're hoping to bid in April. It's a very aggressive design schedule. So anticipating no property issues, other utility conflicts, or permitting gets in the way. We'd like to be out in April and constructing next July.
all right, so, there's a few things that we're gonna be doing tonight, in the agenda. We're gonna table, item 6. We're going to, I'm gonna ask for an authorization to sign the contract to formally hire Kleinfelder to make this design. And then we're gonna vote to basically go ahead with the plan up to the ARPA funding amount of 9.2 million. And then as we get further along, if we're gonna go for a plan that exceeds that number, we will attempt to get it from other grants or TIF. That'll be a little bit further down the road.
will there be some meetings with the business owners? Because certainly this is going to disrupt them. So I'm assuming, can we have a meeting with the business owners to tell them the plan?
Yeah, we've, as part of the design process, we've got 2 outreach meetings. We'll do one early on. We also included some time to make sure people are aware of the meeting, whether it's a little bit of door to door or advertisement. To make sure, but yeah, we right now we're planning on 2 meetings, public involved, make sure we get the residents, business owners, other stakeholders involved.
Good, thank you.
Just one thought I just had, Jim Stewart, in our October meeting for the standards. And we should think about, maybe with Lori, standards for other restaurants who may want to have an outdoor streetscape approach. And, you know, we can't have, a beautiful spot in one spot and concrete barriers across the street. So is that part of your streetscape?
Not specifically right now, but talking to figure out something.
I think we should figure it out before next week.
Plenty of time.
You essentially have a breakdown of that additional 1.5.
Yeah, he does.
You do?
Can you show that, Neil?
It's not, Lee doesn't have it, I do have it,
I mean, is something you just want to email or?
Well, you could, why don't you say it verbally
yeah.
and then we can, you can email it.
Hold up right here. So we've got the Church of Maple paver intersection, so that detail is 200,000. The town green enhancements, 550,000. So there's a little stretch of Maple Street that's adjacent to parcel B. So potentially that could be part of their development, part of our work. That 275,000. And then this little strip out here in front of Town Hall, 275, and then we've got 300 for the bridge. That's all 1.5.
Okay, so the 300, we don't need.
With the 275 in front of parcel B, I would say most likely we will put on that.
Yeah,
But,
for now, we were carrying that as a borough cost,
Right.
right?
as we said, that's the least priority item we have.
So we just knocked 500,000
Well, 275
into
plus,
300,000.
I think, I think part of the strategy is we don't understand where the bidders, what the bid climate is gonna be, how many bidders, how aggressive, where those numbers are gonna come in exactly. We want to be able to be prepared to utilize the best utilization of the funds. So I think it's a sound approach.
I think you're gonna have a lot of bidders for the fact that we don't know how this economy is gonna be moving in the next 6 months. And I think there might be a lot of people that are gonna be looking for work to do.
Right.
But those numbers are in the change order. The numbers you just asked about the alternates.
Yeah.
They're in the change order.
Okay. I'll look that up. Thanks, Rob.
Anytime.
all right, so we are going to proceed with item 5. We're going to table item 6 and move to item 7. Let's do item 7 first.
Motion that the Board of Mayor and Burgess go out to bid and proceed with downtown sanitary sewer, stormwater, streetscape design projects as presented by Kleinfeld in Northeast and modified by the Borough Board utilizing ARPA funding up to $9.2 million. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now let's do item 5.
Motion to the Board of Mayor and Burgess authorize Mayor Heston to approve the design contract with Kleinfeld Northeast for final design, stormwater and sanitary sewer upgrades, as well as streetscape designs for Church Street and Maple Street. Second.
For way of discussion, everyone got in their package the contract, right? Okay. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so I think you guys could take the rest of the night off. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And we will proceed to item 8.
Motion that the Board of Mayor and Burgess adopt the following resolution for Connecticut Communities Challenge Round Number 2 Grant Program. That's right. Thanks, second.
Okay. So, we will be, as I said, we will be applying for a series of grants, with regard to the, state and federal money that's available. There are different rounds all the time. We're working with our grant writer. We, are attempting to meet a early October date to submit under the current round. So we'd like to take a shot. A little early in the process, but we still feel we have a shot and it's worth applying. And if we're not successful, we'll just keep perfecting our application and keep applying. So this would be in essence, an effort to obtain a grant of $6 million to, I'm going to say, finish the work in downtown, which could include a variety of things, including additional parking. So, for example, if we got this grant and it included the additional parking, it would free up money that we've already set aside for additional parking, which we could put back into the streetscape project. So just gonna say, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's our job to come up with the best overall plan and the most effective way to pay for it. And it's gonna be an ongoing process. Any questions on that grant application? Okay. Roll call vote. Charlie,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
well, Deputy Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor, yes. Former Mayor, Mike,
Yes.
Rocky,
Yes.
Dorothy,
Yes.
Jan,
Yes.
did I miss anyone?
No.
All right, so again, for the record, Burgess, Smith, and Mudry are absent. Burgess, Mudry voices oral support. So it passes unanimously, 8-0. Item 9,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Discussion?